Now, another section of the book that Tim wanted me to talk about was I talk about martial arts in the book. And I've been training martial arts for a long time. And there's various types of martial arts. There's striking, there's grappling, and there's weapons. These are the kind of the broad martial arts categories, right? Striking, which is when you're hitting people, grappling, which is when you're grabbing people, and using weapons. Obviously, there's all kinds of different weapons, from knives to swords to sticks to firearms, guns. And so I talk about those things, but I talk a lot about jiu-jitsu, which I think is the best base to have for martial arts. And Tim liked this part where I talked about why to start with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and how it should be taught for self-defense. So here we're going to the book where I talk about why to start with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Start with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It is a form of grappling that is highly advanced because for the most part the actual fighting takes place on the ground. This is a key point because our first form of self-defense is to get away. Yes, to run. If you are confronted by another person or a group of people, the best thing you can do is run away. Avoid the conflict. This is relatively easy if someone is trying to strike you with punches or kicks. They do not have control over you, so you can simply run away from them. You have won. The problem comes in a self-defense situation when someone is grabbing you. Now they are preventing your first line of self-defense, running away. As soon as someone grabs you, you are in a grappling scenario. And one of the most critical parts of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is escaping from someone's grip so you can run. Oftentimes, an attacker will take you to the ground in order to prevent you from escaping their grip. When this happens, the ability to ground fight is used not to stay on the ground, but to get up and get away from the attacker. The first goal of a beginner in jiu-jitsu is not to get the fight to the ground, but to get up off the ground and get away. This is an important distinction from people who believe the goal of self-defense in jiu-jitsu is to get the attacker to the ground. This is not true. The goal is to get away. But as has been seen over and over again, fights often end up on the ground, and therefore a person must be prepared for it. Not training in jiu-jitsu because you don't want to go to the ground is like not learning how to swim because you don't want to go in the water. It doesn't make sense. The safest way to deal with the water is to be comfortable in it. Just as being comfortable on the ground is the best way to deal with that scenario should it unfold in real life. So that's one of those things that people, understandably so, if they learn that, if they think that jiu-jitsu, if you get attacked, what you're going to do is grab someone and pull them to the ground, that's not what the goal is. The goal is to get away from people. So unfortunately, in many fights, they end up on the ground because if you start hitting someone, their defense might be to grab you. And when they grab you, now you're in a grappling scenario. So that is why jiu-jitsu is very important. Now, there's other great martial arts, and I talk about them in the book as well.